If learning Italian pronouns makes your head spin, you're not alone. That's why I created 4 cheat codes that make them impossible to forget. And once you know them, you'll never mix them up again. So in this video, I'll show you what these cheat codes are so you can confidently use any Italian pronoun without second guessing yourself. Pronti? Iniziamo! Now first of all, in this video, we're going to focus specifically on personal pronouns. That is, words that refer to people like I, you, he, she, we, me, him, her, us, and them. Now, Italian personal pronouns come in 4 groups, and each one decides a different job in a sentence. Take a look. We have subject pronouns, which we use for who's doing the action, direct object pronouns for who's receiving the action, indirect object pronouns for who the action is for, and reflexive pronouns when the action refers back to the person doing it. Now here's my biggest piece of advice. Don't try to learn all 4 at once. Focus on one group at a time and master it. Then move on to the next group. Now let's start with the first one. Now this first cheat code is crucial because it's the foundation of every Italian sentence. Now most learners make the same mistake with subject pronouns. They learn that Italian has 6 of them, and they try to use them exactly like we do in English. So they say things like io parlo italiano or noi mangiamo la pizza. And technically that is correct, but it sounds unnatural in Italian because native speakers almost never say them. That's because in Italian, the verb ending already tells us who is doing the action. Take a look at these examples.
Parlo italiano.
I speak Italian. The O ending already means I. You don't need to add io at the beginning at all.
Mangiamo la pizza.
We eat the pizza. The iamo ending already means we. We don't need to specify it by adding noi at the beginning. And then we have
Dormono.
This means they sleep. The no ending already means they. Now here are all 6 Italian subject pronouns.
Io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, loro.
So cheat code number 1 is subject pronouns in Italian are usually invisible. The verb ending already tells us who is doing the action, so you don't need to say the pronoun at all. Now, there are only 3 situations where you do need to use them. For emphasis, for example, io pago, I'll pay. For contrast, for example, lui mangia la carne, lei mangia il pesce. He eats meat, she eats fish. And for clarity with lui, lei, when the verb ending doesn't make it clear if you mean he or she. Now, to lock these subject pronouns into your memory, here's a mnemonic that you can use. Mario tuned Luigi and Leila's noisy violin in Loreto. Each word contains the subject pronouns with just a slight variation for voi in violin. And here's a fun fact. Loreto is a real Italian town in Le Marche, a region of Italy. And it's here that you'll find a famous pilgrimage site, Il Santuario della Santa Casa. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet for this video. It includes a bonus quiz, plus where to place pronouns in different kinds of sentences. To get your copy, just click on the link in the description below this video. Now let's move on to the second cheat code. Now that you've got the first cheat code down, let's look at the most common type of pronoun in Italian, direct object pronouns. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Now this next cheat code helped one of my coaching students finally understand these pesky pronouns. Now, full disclosure, we did work with him one-to-one inside my program, but if you use this same cheat code yourself, it will work just as well for you. Now here's where most learners get confused. They want to say something like, I love pizza, I make pizza every weekend, I serve pizza with a salad, and they end up repeating words like pizza 3 times in a sentence. Now it's correct, but it's very robotic and not how Italians actually speak. Instead, what they need is a word or a pronoun that means it, so they can stop repeating the noun, in this case, pizza. The problem is that Italian has 8 little words to pick from, and learners don't always know which one to use. Well, that's where direct object pronouns come in. Watch what happens when we replace la pizza with the pronoun la, meaning it. Take a look.
Amo la pizza. La faccio ogni weekend. La servo con un'insalata.
I love pizza. I make it every weekend. I serve it with salad. See how it's much simpler? The pronoun la does all the heavy lifting that the noun pizza was doing before. Take a look at this table with all 8 direct object pronouns.
Mi, ti, lo, la, ci, vi, li, le.
So cheat code number 2 is, if you can ask who or what right after the verb, you need a direct object pronoun. Try it on these English sentences. I see. See who? Marco. I see him. Then we say lo vedo. I eat. Eat what? Pizza. I eat it. Then we say la mangio. They invite. Invite whom? Us. They invite us, which is ci invitano. Now, if the answer to who or what slots right in after the verb with no preposition, you're dealing with a direct object. Now, to lock these 8 direct object pronouns into your memory, here's a phrase to remember. Mia's tipsy lover, Larry, circles via Liguria leisurely. Again, notice how every pronoun is represented at the start of each word. And here's a fun fact. Via Liguria is a real Roman street just off Via Veneto, where the US Embassy is. Moving on to cheat code number 3. Now this is for a group of pronouns that you'll use 90% of the time. And if you get them wrong, you risk being misunderstood. We don't want that. So let's say that now that you've learned the 8 direct object pronouns from cheat code number 2, you start using them everywhere. When you want to say, I speak to him, you use lo and say lo parlo. But that's not correct. Why? Because the verb parlare, to speak, takes an indirect object pronoun, not a direct one. Not sure when to use direct and indirect object pronouns? Ask yourself how you would say this in English. Do you need to use to or for? If so, use an indirect object pronoun. Take a look at these examples. I speak to Marco. This has to, meaning we need to use an indirect object pronoun. And we say,
Gli parlo.
but if you see Marco, I see Marco, there is no preposition. So we need a direct object pronoun. And we say,
Lo vedo.
here are 2 more examples. I write a letter to Maria. Again, we need the preposition to, an indirect object. And we say,
Le scrivo una lettera.
I buy a gift for my mum. Again, we have another preposition, for, which means we need an indirect object pronoun.
Le compro un regalo.
Take a look at all the indirect object pronouns in Italian.
Mi, ti, gli, le, ci, vi, gli.
So cheat code number 3 is, if the English sentence has or could have to or for in front of the receiver, you need an indirect object pronoun. Attenzione! Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. The most famous one is with the verb piacere, to like, literally to be pleasing to. For example, in the phrase,
Mi piace la pizza.
to me is pleasing the pizza, meaning I like pizza.
Gli piacciono i film.
To him are pleasing the films, meaning he likes films. Other verbs in this group include mancare, to miss, bastare, to be enough, sembrare, to seem. With these verbs, we always use indirect object pronouns. Now, to help you to lock these indirect object pronouns into your memory, here's a mnemonic phrase that you can use. Milanese tiles glisten, leaving city visitors glittering. It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't need to. It's very visual. Again, pay attention to the first few letters of each word. Each word contains the exact pronoun in the right order. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet, which includes a bonus quiz, plus where to place pronouns in different kinds of sentences. To get your free copy, just click on the link in the description below this video. Now let's move on to the next cheat code. Without this one, you won't be able to say even the simplest everyday things in Italian. Now the problem we have in English is we just say, I wake up, I get dressed, I have fun. But in Italian, we need to add a special pronoun. These are called reflexive pronouns, and these are part of the so-called group of reflexive verbs. Now we use reflexive verbs when the action refers back to the person doing it. Take a look at these examples.
Mi lavo.
I wash myself.
Si veste.
He gets dressed.
Ci divertiamo.
We enjoy ourselves. In English, we sometimes add myself or yourself to show this. In Italian, you use a reflexive pronoun instead. Now, if you don't include the pronoun, it changes the meaning completely of the sentence. Take a look at these examples.
Sveglio alle 7.
Now, this doesn't mean I wake up at 7. It actually means I wake someone else up at 7. Without the pronoun, the action refers to someone else. Here are all 6 reflexive pronouns in Italian. Take a look.
Mi. Ti. Si. Ci. Vi. Si.
Notice the forms here. The mi, ti, ci, and vi are exactly the same as what we saw in cheat code 2. Only the third person is new. Si covers both himself, herself, and themselves. So cheat code number 4 is, if the doer of the action is also the receiver, you need a reflexive pronoun. Now to lock these 6 reflexive pronouns into your memory, here's a phrase I give all my students. Mia's tipsy sister circles Via Sistina. Again, Via Sistina is a real place. It's a famous street in Rome that actually leads to the Spanish Steps. Notice here that every pronoun is represented at the beginning of each of these words. Even though you have these 4 cheat codes to use Italian personal pronouns, none of it matters if you can't actually put a full sentence together. So watch this video here where I share 7 pattern shortcuts to conjugate any Italian tense.